Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kumbira Ishpaza, your host on Afrolink Expert Live. Tonight we launch our top 50 Africa Impact startups. And tonight we have two nominees for that, namely JST Work, represented here by Natalia. Hi, Natalia.
Hi.
Nice to have you on. Nice to have you on Afrolink Expert Live. Welcome. How's it
Thank
in
you so
Kenya?
much. Oh, it's cold, believe it or not. It's actually winter here, but all wonderful.
Great. And we also have Lux Maharaj from Parallel Wireless. Hi, Lux. How's it in SA?
Hi, good day. How are you? It's evening now. It's winter here as well, and unfortunately, we ranked fifth in terms of the infections, COVID infections in the world. So we have to take a lot of care.
Yeah, that's true. Also, to our viewers from all over the world, at a time where we have the coronavirus pandemic all over the world, let's all take care. Let's all adhere to the rules and regulations, and let's stay safe. Yeah. So, as we start the episode today, I'll start over to you, Natalia. I know, look, I've talked to you before. You are someone who's chirpy, who's someone who loves talking, enjoys as well the entrepreneurship end. Who is Natalia?
Good question. Thank you. I always get confused either for a Mexican or Brazilian or an Ethiopian or whatever else it may be. I'm actually half Somali and half Russian. I had a very interesting upbringing in terms of I spent the first 5 years of my life in Russia. Then I went to Somalia for 10 years. Whilst in Somalia, went to an Italian school and ended up living the rest of my life in the UK. What I am normally put under is HR. Natalia is in HR. Actually, I'm not in HR. I am a recruiter. I am a headhunter. And I'm a specialist within the HR bracket. Over the last 16 plus years, I would say that I have interviewed at least 18,000 people, hired and onboarded more than 1,500 across 70 countries. So when it comes to anything to do with recruitment, whether it's the individual looking to find a job or a business really looking to identify the right headcount, this is where I come in.
Sorry, I was muting myself. There was sort of like an echo that I was hearing. That's a good introduction. Thank you very much for that. So half Somali, half Russian.
Mm.
But I'll take the half Somali. And we remain all Africans. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Lak, please give us a brief about yourself as well before we get into what Parallel Wireless does. Yeah. Sorry, you're muted. We can't hear you.
Can you unmute me?
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yes,
All right.
we can hear you.
Yes. All right. It said host has muted me. All right. So, yes, my name is Lux Maharaj. I'm the sales director for Africa at Parallel Wireless. I've been with Parallel Wireless now about 2.5 years. And within this 2.5 years, we've penetrated quite significantly into the African market with various mobile operators such as MTN, Vodafone, Orange, and various others. We have network. We have ongoing business in various countries. That is Uganda, Guinea-Conakry, Nigeria, Central African Republic, DRC, Somalia, South Sudan, and various others as well. So I've previously been with the legacy vendors, which you might be very familiar with, which is Alcatel-Lucent, which is Nokia today, Ericsson, and I've primarily dealt with the operator market, with mobile operators and fixed operators. But within Parallel Wireless, we have realized a very different approach to everything in the industry. Currently, the industry has been very much focused on what they call closed RAN. And we have been a forerunner introducing the concept of Openran, which is a very disruptive technology in the space of the mobile operators. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Some of these words you're saying, they are going to be big words. And I hope that as we continue in the discussion, you might be able to put them at a lower level so that myself and the rest of the other people on the continent might also be able to understand them. But it's great to have you online. And I'm also seeing Eugenia Jordan is always saying, thank you for including parallel wireless. Thank you, Eugenia, for coming on board as well. Hope you are safe that side. Blessing Taziren says, hello there. I'm excited to attend this. I'm Blessing from Chirete, Zimbabwe. Thank you. Satenda says, evening from Peter Marisburg, South Africa. Evening, Satenda. Sofian Sidiom, impressive. Thank you, Sofian. Masiba Maka says, hi, everyone. Masiba here from North End, UK. Yes. So over to you now, Natalia. I talked to you yesterday in terms of the name of your company. JST Works. I know there's a part. I want you to tell us.
Okay, so Just Work has a missing you because I'm looking for you. I can't spell success without you. Truth be told, I couldn't afford the you, so I'm making the cash to go and buy my you eventually. But Just Work, it's really all about, it's about working smart, not working hard. And I'll be honest, I literally packed 4 suitcases and I came to a country I have never been, Kenya, to follow a dream that I've had for a very long time. And this is to empower African talent. This is to empower melanin talent and to put them onto the same platform of employment as anybody else for the rest of the world. So I'm very passionate about that.
Thank you very much. You don't need to hire anyone to do your advertising or your marketing for you. You can do it yourself.
Hired, done.
Yeah. So I think Lux, you talked about Openran, things like that. In a layman's terms, what does parallel wireless do? Okay, sorry, let me unmute you again.
Mute myself because it's unmuted by the host, but nevertheless, let me go ahead. All right, so what is parallel wireless? Let's start there first. And the best way to look at this is we could consider parallel wireless in a perspective when you look at it as an alternative. And that alternative is to the established legacy vendors in the market. And when I talk about the legacy vendors in the market, I'm talking about the big 4 that are very, very well-known brands in the world, such as Ericsson, Huawei, ZTE, Nokia, and so forth. So parallel wireless is an alternative to them, right? And this is something new. Not everyone is aware of that. So we are a USA-based company. Yes, we started up in 2012, so you can regard us as a very new company. We are around 8 years old. I would say about 5 years or so was spent in R&D, and we are still ongoing with R&D. But in the past 3 years, we entered in the market commercially. And as it stands right now, we have presence in operator networks. In other words, we are installed in networks in all 6 continents in the world. And we provide, like I said, it is an open RAN solution, and I'll tell you what that is. We sell that to the mobile network operators. We also focus on another segment of the market, but I won't discuss that today. That is public safety relating to our solutions for police, military, and so forth. But I'm going to focus mainly on the solution called Open RAN for the mobile operators. So first of all, you know the RAN in that the radio access network, it is what gives you today 2G and 4G, right? This is what you receive on your mobile phone. Okay, so whenever you switch on your phone, it's connecting to the network operator and you're getting a signal. and you're connecting on some technology based on your subscription, based on your phone, the coverage area, the functionality provided by the operator. So you're getting a technology called 2G, 3G, and 4G, right? So we do know that these costs are quite expensive. It has been coming down over the years. Africa is one of the continents in the world where there's been extensive growth in mobile communications. The introduction of mobile communication to Africa was very, very well received. And it continues to even grow very strongly today versus some of the developed countries. Okay, so let's talk about Open RAN. What is Open RAN? Let's start again at a comparison. So if we look at the RAN of today, the radio access network of today, that which provides you with your signal, that system is a closed system. Why we say that is because a closed system is where the hardware and software comes from the same vendor, right? Whatever you buy for that entire site to bring that up, that goes in there, the technology that goes in there, it includes what they call a radio that you see installed on top of the tower with some antennas, and there is a baseband system normally that goes at the bottom of the tower, and those two components have to come from the same vendor. That is why we say it is closed today. Other types of closed systems today you will see even in mobile phones. You will get a closed system like Apple versus a system like Android, right? Just to give a very simple example, although there's some other differences between them. But that is a very basic, simple, straightforward example to give you the difference between the two. So naturally, you would find Android systems are cheaper. In the same way, Open RAN is becoming a cheaper alternative to the traditional RAN. So what do we do in the RAN? We disaggregate, in the Open RAN, we disaggregate the hardware and software. We say that the hardware that is there can come from one vendor, and that does not have to be Parallel Wireless. It can be someone else. The software will come from another vendor, and that typically is Parallel Wireless because we are a software vendor. But we do provide the complete solution, the hardware and the software. And the way things are in Open RAN is you can change it if you don't like. You can change either of it if you don't like. So if you don't like the hardware from the one vendor, you stop buying from that particular vendor and you start using another one. The same with the software. And that also applies if you want an innovative feature, perhaps from one vendor, which the other does not, you can swap and change. So what is happening here, you're not being tied down into a single vendor. You're not having to buy from the top four. The price is not limited by that which is given by the top four. Okay. The way things are going now, it's an open market. We are making the hardware a commodity item. All right. So if you look at the price of that hardware going on that base station that gives you that signal, yes, today it's in the value of $1,000, right? Very soon, far less than $2,000 for that hardware. Okay, so there's a significant reduction in cost coming down for the hardware that's going onto those base stations. And obviously, you know, companies like MTN and Vodafone and so forth, they have thousands of these base stations spread out across the country. Now, when we say we want this hardware to be a commodity item, a cheaper item, it means it needs to be mass produced. It must be made by third parties. It must be on an open market. It must be as simple as buying a can of baked beans in the supermarket. You have a choice. You can choose whichever one you want. You can pay for a more expensive one, a different brand, and so forth. In the same way, you should be able to purchase hardware for the RAN from any third-party vendor. All right. Then you get the baseband at the bottom. Yes, there has to be a baseband to drive that hardware, very much like you have in the closed RAN scenario. But that is software based. It is a piece of hardware that we call COTS. COTS server means a common off-the-shelf server, meaning that it is a common thing that you can buy from HP, from Dell, and various providers of such hardware. And the software that goes inside is where the innovation comes in. That software that's in is meant to drive that radio to deliver 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, bring in additional features, drive a radio that's single band or dual band, something that's 4x4 MIMO, 2x2 MIMO, or there's massive MIMO systems, active antennas, a whole lot of things that you see in the mobile world, these big words. Okay. The idea in the Openran is for the cost to come down. Now, if you look at how this works, is we have to add in some components into this entire thing. There is something called the Openran Alliance. All right. Now, this is a very critical aspect in this entire and to make this entire ecosystem a reality, because you need some interoperability between the hardware manufacturer and the software manufacturer, right? And that's something called ECPRI as an example. That is a standard that is currently being used by hardware vendors and software vendors to ensure that you can take a hardware piece from a specific vendor, software piece from Parallel Wireless, put that together, and it definitely will work without a problem. Another big entity in all of this is something called TIP, TIP. Right? You can search for this on the internet. It's called Telecom Infra Project. But what it is if you take Facebook, which is the founder member of that, and various MNOs that are part of it, they form this organization called TIP. They promote Openran because the MNOs are in there, and I'm talking about the big MNOs like MTN, like Vodafone, like Telefonica, and so forth. They openly discuss the changes needed in the mobile industry. They openly discuss what is happening in terms of Open RAN and closed RAN and issues they have. They talk about their own insight, the experience they have with the Open RAN vendors. So these two organizations form a critical part of, you can say, the Open RAN ecosystem, right? Now, coming back to what I mentioned, that is there at the base station, we have the radio and the baseband, right? Now, that baseband, like I said, it's on common off-the-shelf server. It's not specific hardware. There's plenty of vendors that sell it, so it's freely available on the market. Now, what you got to realize also is the move is there to move a lot of the processing from the radios into the servers. Now, immediately MNO will say, hey, hold on. If you start doing that, the server at the bottom, the CPU and so forth is going to become expensive in there because you're doing a lot of processing in the baseband, the bottom server that sits at the bottom of the base station. But one has to realize is that if you look at Moore's law, and this is something we know about, has been happening over the years, every year we are doubling the capacity on the processors, we're halving its cost, right? So as the processing capacity increases, we get all these support for very feature intense things that come, for example, 5G, like beamforming and so forth, right? Now, at a very technical level, I'll just mention it, I won't go into too much details. You will see that processing is related to what we call is 3GPP split options. They call it option 8, option 7.2, and so forth. But if you just look at option 8 and option 7, which is the more common being on the roadmap of most of the Open RAN vendors, this whole split idea is something that is defined by 3GPP. It is on the road leading towards 5G introduction. Okay. Now,
sorry, let me hold you there. Let me hold you there. So, in a nutshell, what you guys are doing, what you guys are bringing to the market, is something that is cheaper from the traditional big companies, like you mentioned, and you are also putting it. You talked about you guys having the solution that you have, but it can also be another third option, another third vendor that is not necessarily parallel wireless. Because I want to bring it to somewhere, which is going to be my next question to you again.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So just hold on to that question, because I'm coming. I'll be coming back to you just now on the. It's about the impact that you guys have made with the Open RAN. I hope I made that. I say that correct. Okay.
Correct.
Yep. Yes. Natalia, JST work. Can I just say just work?
Yes, please.
Okay, just work. Okay, without the U,
Yes.
because the U is you, or it's
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so for just work, what have been the biggest challenges for you in terms of getting just work? I mean, you're coming from a perspective where you're working somewhere else. Yeah, then you start your own company. What have been the challenges for you?
Without a doubt, I think setting up a startup in a country that you've never been or in a new territory that you've not actively worked in has definitely been a challenge. But I will say this has been one of the 3 most rewarding years of my life. I really, what Just Work does is 2 things. We do recruitment and headhunting, but what we also focus on is on career development. When I initially set up Just Work, doing all my research, my MBA and everything else, I was very, very aware that what really kills most startups is cash flow. No matter how great your idea may be, no matter what a wonderful solution it may be solving, ultimate cash flow is what gets most businesses out. So I had to really sit down, and I know that recruitment is where my business is growing and actually allowing us to be here. But this is where I then developed career development programs, which we now offer as an outplacement. We actually have quite a lot of clients right now. And what I have found is that the career development has not only allowed me to, how can I say, meet the cash flow that a small typical SME will need, but this is where I feel I've had the most impact so far as part of Just Work. Because I have such a substantial amount of knowledge, as I said, I'm really passionate about melanin and Africa. And because if you look at African demographics, you will see that out of the 1.3 billion that we have, up to 75% are under the age of 25. 65% of children in Africa are under the age of 16. So if we really look at it, our working population is not just small right now, but the biggest is going to come over the next 5 to 10 years. In Kenya alone, out of the 48 million, I think 24 or 27 are literally in schools. And every 2 years, we have anything between 3 to 4 up to 5 million people entering the market force. So when it comes to careers, what I want people to understand is that the future of work, as Forbes predicts, 3 million to 400 million jobs will disappear, not just in Europe, all over. So this gives us, Africa, a unique opportunity to be able to upskill ourselves because we are moving to new industries, fintech, e-commerce, there's so many new industries. This means the organizational structures have fundamentally shifted. It's very interesting that Bangladesh has managed just in the last 2 years to corner the online labor market by becoming the world's 2nd largest provider. What has Corona done is it's put the foot on the gas. One of the fastest global trends growing at over 1,000% pre-Corona is home working. Not just AI is it coming in disrupting the work, but what's really happening is that your location is no longer relevant. So now that I'm based regardless, once you go online, you go global. So what I would say is that the African youth, and because we have the biggest working population, the average age in Europe is 47. When you look at in Kenya, the average age is 19, in Somalia, 17, in Malawi, 14. We've got literally the workforce of the future. So when it comes to Just Work, for me, what I stand for is empowerment through knowledge. Empowerment through what people do is they listen to their grandparents or their parents say, no, do this degree and follow this career path. That career path no longer exists. We have the gig economy. We are shifting. Industries are being disrupted fundamentally. So this means we have a unique window over the next 5 to 10 years to really become one of the biggest employers in the world. You see, because of the one-child policy in China, for every one working Chinese, up to 6 or 7 are potentially retired. Their population is declining. So we have that workforce. So there's so many things, as I said, that I see that Africa has a huge potential in. And they are hungry, they are smart, they're educated. I don't know if you've heard of ghostwriters, but the Kenyan youth are right now literally writing thousands and thousands of theses and PhD papers for other people across the westernized world to pass the actual examination. This is a huge business here. So this is what Just Work do. We empower melanin to allow you to understand that you can get a job. Your education is no longer relevant. You can pick up the skills that you need relatively fast and sell them on a global platform.
Thank you very much. Just before I go to Lux, to someone who doesn't know what is melanin, including myself.
Okay, melanin.
Yeah.
Melanin is the chemical that protects you from sunburns. And the more melanin you have, it means the more you live by the sunshine. It's just really all I'm saying is just being, Africans and being black, and wanting to be on the world platform, that we do matter. We are not second class. We have what it needs, and the world needs to see us now.
Thank you. And I'm going to use this word a lot. Thank you very much.
Very, very
Lux,
easy.
over to you. Okay. So, talking about parallel wireless, you're now on the continent as well. My question now is, and it's this is where I think this is the crux of the matter, or what you're talking about. What is the impact that you guys are making on the continent? What is the impact that parallel wireless is making in Africa? And yeah, I think that is what the viewer would also like to know.
Okay, so parallel wireless, very much like I told you about the solution. Yes, there's one advantage, obviously, cost of the solution, both on a capex and opex basis. So together with the mobile operator, they've realized that, and where they have not been investing in the rural areas, and they do that, they don't invest so much there because the business case is not attractive there. So they don't want to put coverage there. But with parallel wireless, suddenly, and with Openran, that has changed their thinking. They've realized it has become possible to use this kind of technology to connect the unconnected. And what happens, obviously, once you connect the unconnected, there's suddenly a 3 to 5% GDP contribution that community is starting to make to the economy, right? And we think, this is just phone calls and data that we are giving people. No, that's not all. Yes, it is phone calls and data that you are able to do, just like you do in an urban area. But you got to realize that in these areas, we are dealing with people that are also unbanked, right? Meaning that now the mobile phone becomes the means for doing transactions. They have the access to mobile money, mobile wallets. They can pay accounts, they can receive funds, they can transact. That means they can do business, right? So it's lending itself towards e-commerce. And if you look in Africa, talk about in Kenya as well, you would find a lot of platforms, software innovators that have been developed specifically for the Kenyan market. And that is for the rural segments involving agriculture, selling, advertising, farm produce, cattle, and so forth. All right, there's a lot of these platforms that's there. If you look also at e-health, right? It is necessary to send out health tips to persons in rural areas, especially with things related to things very much a problem in Africa, such as malaria and locusts, or even cholera and so forth. Okay, even details about childbirth. Okay, now if we take COVID right now, there's a need to send out information about COVID. There's a need to let the community know that there's a sudden outbreak, there's an increase in infections, there's a need to stay at home. All right. I have found that, the mobile operators have now started giving a zero rating their networks to give free access to school and university sites. Okay, now that is great for the urban areas, but what about the rural areas? If you didn't have the coverage there, then those children don't have access to those school and university sites. So e-education is another thing supported by the mobile networks going into the rural areas. If I give you an example,
here's what I found on the internet.
Please
look at the screen.
If you look at DRC, we've installed something on the border of Uganda and DRC, very much where there's an outbreak of Ebola. So that mechanism, that coverage has assisted them to communicate to people, send out information to the World Health Organization. What we've noticed is we've implemented the system. We didn't expect it, but within 3 months, there was suddenly congestion. So where it was not expected for a rural area to bring the kind of traffic that justifies commercially the benefit to a mobile operator, we are seeing that happening. I'll say, yes, the data was slow initially. It started with 20 megabyte per day. It's tiny, irrelevant, but it's grown to 1 gigabyte per day. very much, obviously, you got to realize people in those areas did not have access to phones. They did not know about the internet, but now they are starting to use it. They, it's adding value in their lives. Like I said, it's a higher revenue for the mobile operator than expected in their business case. The demand for data is growing, especially now with COVID and the need for remote access to e-health, e-education, information. We're finding that phones are being passed from urban dwellers to their families in rural areas. So you're getting, in South Africa, we'll say these old gogos. They are getting, a Samsung S5, S8, nice mobile phones. There's also a big market for refurbished second-hand phones. Cheap LTE phones are coming out. So, you can say there's another boom in mobile connectivity happening in the rural areas. And, before anyone asks a question about 5G, I want to address that 5G is not really meant for the rural area. Right now, if we look at the take-up of even 4G in these areas, most of these networks are not even 30% utilized. I'm talking about in the rural areas. So 5G is something that is far away. It's not something we talk about, especially when we talk about deep rural. Over to you. You're muted.
I like the way you addressed I like the way you address the fact that you guys are making impact in terms of the raw areas. I mean, even as Afrolink ourselves, even with our partners, it's something that we are all trying to see with the COVID situation. How do we get the girl child or the child in the raw areas getting the same e-learning platform that a child in the urban cities is also getting? So this is very much, and I think it's a problem that people maybe in Europe might not understand in terms of the raw connectivity issues that we have in Africa. The way you're talking about 5G as well, to say it doesn't fit what we are having on the African continent. So thank you very much in terms of that as well. Lux, I mean, that's impact. That's tangible impact that my go in the raw area must be able to talk to me every day, tell me what is happening. That is the life that we're living now. Over to you, Natalia.
Yes.
What advice would you give to someone that wants to get start their own business, be a startup? From your own experience, what advice do you have?
Absolutely. What I would say is that, of course, make sure that you have the cash flow covered, as I said earlier. But what I find when it comes to startups, when we hire, for example, we may take one person and get him to wear too many hats. The smaller they are, the more hats we wear. So if you get one individual that's going to do a bit of your accounting, do a bit of this and a bit of that, etc., if you put all of your eggs in one basket with one individual, if that individual leaves, it can have a catastrophic impact on your business. So when it comes to recruiting or when it comes to setting up your business, make sure that it is your process or how you deliver your business that is sectioned in the way that you will use AI or technology where possible and segment it so that not one individual is actually covering all of the role. What I would say also when it comes to startups, they don't know what to hire. Okay, they just don't know what to hire. They say, I'll take a little bit of this and maybe I could do with a little bit of that. So this is where I really enjoy helping organizations create a structure. Who do I need to hire as phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? And let's not leave our recruitment to our network and I might post it on the job or I might ask a few people, because even if you find the people, you might not know how to interview them, how to really select them deeply. You might be able to test their technology or test some of their practical. So really, when it comes to startups, what I would say is really put a little bit of thinking of the type of people you're going to hire, how you're going to hire them, and you can outsource a great deal rather than having everything in-house. And what I would say is the opportunities here are phenomenal. I started now coming up to 3 years. Pre-corona, my team grew up to 10. Okay, we've slightly downsized just so that we can maintain, but I'm opening headcount on a daily basis. I'm a boutique, I'm small, I'm specialized, but I'm still opening headcounts. You know, next week we have a few starters. So what I would say is when it comes to startups, do your recruitment planning and come to me, actually. Just come to me directly. I'll get it right for you straight up, because it's not just, you know.
That. Sorry, I wanted. I know this is what people pay you to say as well. But I need you to say this to someone watching there. The first phase, though, you talked about 3 phases of recruitment. What is the first phase of recruitment? Who must a startup or an entrepreneur who's watching today? Who must
Your
they first recruit?
Your
Yeah.
first phase, you should not hire people who just help you operate, because people who are just doing the operational side are big cost to you. Make sure that the first thing that you build is your sales organization. Either you outsource it, but if you are not getting income, there's no point in hiring others. So sometimes we put too much focus on non-operational or non-revenue generating roles. Make sure that when you are hiring, that first phase is all about hiring so the revenue comes in, for closing the numbers, for bringing in the cash flow, and then build. Second phase is to bring more of the operations. So initially outsource some of those operational sides, really put your cost in where your sales comes in, where you're building the connections. And you can do your sales not that in a direct employment. There's lots and lots of ways of doing it. So yeah, I would say make sure that you have a business strategy, a sales strategy, and people who are going to help you bring that revenue in your phase one.
Thank you very much. To an entrepreneur, to start up watching, it's not enough for you to be called the founder or the managing director. Then you want a PA, you want a marketing manager. No, sometimes in the phase one, bring in people who build sales. Rather, outsource people who bring sales. And when you have the revenue, that's when you can build phase two, the operational part of the company. Thank you very much for that, Natalia. Thank you very much for that. Yes. We just go back to our viewers as well. We have Obadimililo, hi from Berlin. We have Rutendo Kagoro, hello from Zimbabwe. Verena Rentrop, always there. Positive energy from Helsinki. Thank you very much for the positive energy. Sofian says, Natalia, I need to introduce you to a startup in Kenya that shares your point of view. Thank you very much, Sofian. We also give Natalia your contact as well after the show. Lishmuk Maharaj says, hello, Luchman Vishnu Maharaj. Patrick Gokwe, watching from Brazil. Kelvin Mandi, a very insightful engagement from Joburg, South Africa. Elizabeth Acheng says, will you share a recording? Definitely, Elizabeth. After the show, we always have YouTube that you can always, when you go to YouTube, go to Afrolink, you'll find the recording there. Tofara Chokila says, wonderful. Thank you, Tofara. Wetsa Andrade Talia. Hi, Kumbirai. I'm a bit late, live from Namibia. Thank you. Greetings in Namibia there. Julia Ma, greetings from Vienna. Really enjoying the conversation. Thank you again. Westa says, here in Namibia, the challenges are on the affordability of data and e-learning is enriching mobile operators, and we should look into ways of reaching the people at the rural areas. Okay, so this is going to be the next question as well for Lux that we're going to go with. Yeah, Sarah K says deep. Thank you, Sarah. And hello from Kenya, from Elizabeth. I think what I also like about Afrolink Expert Live is that we have a diverse and a global audience that gives us different views and different views. Yes, like I said. So, maybe just to continue on the question that was asked here. It says we should look into ways of reaching the people in the rural areas. I think what more, that was my question, what more needs to be done in terms of us to reach the people that in the rural areas, especially in Africa, with regards to connectivity and data issues?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay, I think there was a bit of.
You were.
I was saying that what more do you think needs to be done in regard to the rural areas for us in terms to get connectivity better and also data issues in the rural areas? Like we're now saying that communication in terms of the internet might go in the rural area as a phone, a smartphone. So what more needs to be done on African continent to get people in the rural areas to be also able to communicate? You know?
Okay, so the first thing is Openran is an ecosystem. So it's an ecosystem, yes, to make up the base station, it is an ecosystem of hardware, software, and so forth. But more than that, it's an ecosystem of various other players. So one of those players is government, another one is the regulators, another one is a lot of local talent, right? And local companies. Some, for example, so you get community-based organizations or community-based businesses, or in South Africa, we have something called stokvels, right? So what this means is, let's take one of the problems that you typically experience in Africa by putting down a base station in a rural area. You don't have power, and you need to provide solar panels and batteries, and an entire solution must be based on that without electricity, no grid power. Right. Now, unfortunately, in some countries, batteries is a very valuable thing, right? And it's something to be stolen quite often, and the equipment of the mobile operator is vandalized and so forth. So what happens is, if you partner with the local community, for example, like a chief, right? The chief in the community, you partner with him. The base station is installed under his protection. He's involved in the ensuring that his community gets to charge their mobile phones because they have no power. They get to buy prepaid SIM cards. They get to recharge the airtime. And they get all these things, and he tends to look after that because that becomes a necessity for the community. So when you establish the solution, it's not just about the technology. It goes beyond that. It's now starting to involve the local community. It starts creating businesses in that local community area. Now, if you look at involvement of government and regulators, the mobile operators, they spend a certain percentage of their revenue intake, they pay to the what we call a universal services fund, which is generally managed by the regulator or a body within the government. Now, that is intended to be used to feed back into the rural areas to increase connectivity there. All right. And you're finding that that is being supplemented now by various other organizations worldwide, such as the International Telecommunication Satellite Organization, or Facebook, or GSMA, and so forth. They are willing to partner with rural, with the regulators and government to bring communication into the rural areas, so they can see the need for it. Even satellite operators see the need for it, because a lot of these places you need satellite to get there. So they themselves are willing to invest in there. So the investment is becoming attractive to move into the rural areas. There's a lot of players ready to go into that. And now the ecosystem needs to come together between the regulator, government, a local community, the mobile operator, and so forth. It's no more where it was just a mobile operator built the towers, advertised some SIM cards, and people went and bought them out at the stores. It's a bit more than that now. And it's even getting to the point of where communities are saying, okay, we'll look after it. We'll ensure that there's diesel in this place, or we'll ensure there's security and so forth. Let's do revenue share. So you don't have to worry about ever coming to site. We'll take full care of that. You give us X% of the calls coming from here, and that feeds back into the community for whatever development, schools, and so forth. So those are becoming very attractive models now for bringing rural connectivity into these areas.
Can't hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. I was saying,
yes,
I like the solution is an African solution, because we have traditional chiefs in our areas. We all respect our traditional chiefs. There's a hierarchy that we've always had. It might not be something that someone might understand from from a capitalist society in that sense, but in Africa it actually works that way, and it works wonders. So I like that type of solution. And to anyone who's watching, and to anyone also hearing, I think this is important as well, to maintain the culture and the way things are. It makes it easier sometimes to be able to be innovative, but in the same time innovative within a certain culture that you are living in as well. Natalia, I know you're also someone that you've stayed in a lot of countries, but you decided to go back home onto the continent. I know you're also passionate about teaching people who are still in the diaspora about coming back home. What advice would you give to someone who wants to come back home or is even scared of coming back Africa to start their business, to find employment there? Yes.
What a good question. Thank you so much for that. And actually, this was one of the main reasons that made me actually pack my suitcases, because we need to bring our talent back. How many of us, when we are leaving, we leave in mind, I'll be back. And years accumulate, times runs away, you start having a family, and it's, when do I go back? We know we want to go back, but when do I make that go back? What I have found is that there are really three types of people when it comes to the retournee that I am really, really looking to support. One is your young person that has gone out and has been there less than 10 years. They've just got educated and they're looking to come back. Two is your mothers potentially with children. Now they want to know different information. What are the schools like? What is the hospital like? What are the roads like, etc. And then you have the man who's got, and that's the biggest of, they usually, he comes, sets everything up, and then brings the rest of the family. So the man really comes in with a huge amount of experience, and they're either looking to set up a business or they're looking to find employment. You see, traditionally, people search for jobs in completely the wrong way. So they have always found it very difficult to find jobs. The first thing I tell you is throw your CV away. Remove it from your vocabulary, delete it off your system, because your CV is offline. And even if you print it and put it by your bedside, somebody has to break into your house to find you. So the CV is a document that does not work. So I actually have a program, as I said, that helps people to come back so that you can secure a job even before you are back. You use LinkedIn because you build your LinkedIn profile, you change your location to your current individual, you stop applying on jobs, and you start reaching out to your future employer. I teach people that you are the company. All of your IP is what you sell. If your set of skills are widely available everywhere, the higher the demand, the lower the supply. So if you are an accountant and I can find hundreds of accountants, then I'm going to be more selective. Because we are going to new industries where everything is bridging, we are looking for new set of skills. So if you find your companies and you position yourself directly, forget whether they have a job or not, literally build a proactive approach and build a digital platform and bring eyes to your profile. That becomes effective. Then you are managing your career proactively, not reactively, not, oh, I now need a job. I might be running my own business, but I still interview and I get headhunted at least once a month. And there are some interesting roles. So it's managing your career as our lives. Our job title gives us a status in society. It's not just what I do. It's very, very important. So I teach you, you can actually find there are so many jobs in Africa. We are short on skills. And the other challenge that a lot of people say, but I'm not going to be paid a big salary. You know, I want a good salary. There's this salary thing. Okay, $10,000 in the US or in the UK, it's all about cost of living. The rent is so expensive. Transport is so expensive. So understand what is the cost of living rather than saying, oh, I must get this amount. And I will tell all the people that are looking to return, in the last 4 years, I have not done I've not washed any clothes. I've not ironed anything. I've not cleaned anything. I genuinely have the best of lives ever. So if you are an African and you know, and you've gone back out there, you know, coming back makes sense, right? And the opportunities are many.
Wow. I mean, you're not only selling just works, you're selling Africa. And I mean, to anyone watching, within the diaspora, if you're thinking of going back home, if you've been thinking about going back home, I mean, this is a fantastic discussion we're having here. The opportunities that are there on the ground as well. And thank you to both our experts today, Natalia, as well as Lux. Lux, I mean, we have a lot of entrepreneurs and startups who will watch the program. And for them, it's mostly more about impact. For them, it's more in terms of about tangible things that they can get. Do you guys, as Parallel Wireless, do you guys do collaboration with young people or with startups in the localities that you are? And if people also want to do collaborations with you, what is the process that they can go through as well?
Okay, all right. So first of all, the answer is yes, and I need to give you some examples. So yes, we look for in Africa, and the talent is not something that just comes today. It's something that obviously starts at an early age, and yes, education is very much important. Now we know that this technology is very crucial for Africa, right? For the e-health, the m-health, the education, and so forth. And there's a lot of content where you can remotely learn artificial intelligence. You can remotely learn automation. You can remotely even learn software development. Um, and so the tools are there. The education is there to support you to do that. Now, Openran, it's here today. It's like I said, it's not well known, and it's made of this ecosystem, and anybody can participate in this ecosystem. Right? You don't have to just get involved in the hardware and software. I'm going to give you a very simple example of something that we developed very much because of Africa, right? And I just want to state before I go into that example, we have been ranked just recently, just 1 or 2 days ago, by the Africa 50 Innovation Challenge, where there was about 700 participants in Africa. We were ranked amongst the top 30. Okay, now that program has assisted us to interwork with a lot of local startups, and we have come across a few of them. We are in discussions with them, and I cannot reveal much about that right now, but announcements will be made in press in time. So I'm going to give you an example now. What in Africa has suddenly become a patent that Parallel Wireless has realized. So the one thing we knew that we realized that yes, in Africa we have the solar panels, batteries, whatever it is for the sites. We have the radio there, and sometimes it's monsoon times, like it is in the DRC. For 3 months, it just rains and it's cloudy, and you're not going to get power there, right? So what happens is that the solar panels don't charge the batteries enough. If it doesn't charge the batteries enough, it means the radio is going to go off, the network goes down. So we worked with someone that used their system to forecast the weather for the next 7 days based on information from the internet and so forth that's available. And based on that, they could feed back information to us to say, see here, we don't think we're going to have power for the next 7 days because based on the weather. So therefore, can you do something? And that passes the information to our network. And what we do, we reduce coverage, we reduce the output power of the radio. Yes, it becomes a smaller cell, but it does not go off, which means it uses less power from the batteries. It allows for that period to pass, right? So there was some interaction between the batteries, the solar system, the radio. This is something never existed before. And suddenly now Parallel Wireless owns the patent behind this. And this came from our application of this technology in Africa. So this is why I'm saying that, engagement with local entrepreneurs is very important, with local startups is important, because like you said, it's Africa specific issues. You're not going to find this issue in the US. You're going to find it here, right? And, they don't really steal batteries and so forth. Maybe they do, but it's not like as evident it is here, right? We have the need for it. We don't have power at home. Even if we have power, it's not reliable all the time, right? So these kind of innovations have to come out, and there's been innovations now specifically on how the cabinet is made. That's at the bottom of the base station to prevent it from being broken into, right? Because we are very innovative people when it comes to breaking in to take something. We can do it anytime, especially South Africans. I can say that because I'm South African, right? And South Africans are well known in Africa for our very impressive activities. Yeah. So the innovation comes out of the same community as well, as a deterrent to that. Yes, we are open to these kind of partners, and we're looking for them. And yes, we have found a platform where we are engaging them currently. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Guys, whoever's watching, if you have innovative skills, but not the ones that we want to deter, but the innovation skills that are there to build the communities as well as to make business thrive. Parallel Wireless are doing some great things. I don't understand the Openran too much, but I know as well those that are into software development, those that are into tech development, you might also understand this. You can also contact Parallel Wireless through us as well if you want to collaborate, as well as to ask them how they're doing things on the continent. As we close, a great discussion and a lot of comments as well coming through, but our time is also about to finish. Natalia, any last words out there for young entrepreneurs as well as people within the ecosystem? I mean, especially now with the whole COVID situation, to a young startup that's started their business, but there's this COVID that has then come. What words of, I mean, obviously, I want words of motivation as we end.
It's all in your mind. If you believe it's not possible, then it will not happen. So start, first of all, with having the right mental attitude. Everything is possible to be turned around in a different way. I was delivering everything offline, because I enjoy the face-to-face presentation. Sitting there for 3 hours talking to a computer is not the same as doing it into a screen. So what I would say to a young entrepreneur that is coming, that is potentially considering opening up a company, just do it. It is not until you are running a business that you begin to develop the skills that you do. Vusi, who is my favorite South African, if I have one, he says it very well, when he says, if you start as being a professional, you move to being a self-employed, then to a business, then to entrepreneur. You can't cheat the steps. So go ahead and do it, because everything you learn is going to build your blocks to be able to make better decisions. And don't necessarily start a huge idea and I now need all of that. There is so many things that you can do quite quickly. And the way to do that is identify the need, see where there is enough need, and provide something that not everybody else is providing. So the more unique of a point that's a product or a solution you can do, and just think outside the box. Use all of your knowledge, use all of your IP. And if you believe you can achieve it, there's definitely absolutely no doubt. And I would like to add one more thing, if it's okay. One of the reasons that you invited me here is really to talk about what kind of impact has Just Work actually had so far. So I wanted to take a minute to say that I have spent the last 3 years talking across so many universities. I've been doing so many talks so that people get really, really informed and empowered. And as a consequence, today I actually got invited to be part of International Youth Day, which is on I didn't know that, the 12th of August, where this is being run both by the UN as well as the Chamber of Commerce here in Kenya, where they are expecting up to 5 million students in 46 countries to come in. So again, you can see the impact because people are referring to me because what I've said to them has had an impact and they're coming back. So really, really excited to be part of the impact in Africa and in Kenya.
Guys, thank you very much. Congratulations on. I just wanted to say as well, watch the comments that are coming are too many as well. It's now our time is up, but to our viewers who are watching on this, I want to invite Lux as well as Natalia to be part of our experts within the AfroLink conference that's happening in September. We're going to have the AfroLink Europe Week from the 21st to the 25th of September, which is our usual, our AfroLink conference is in Berlin, but this year is going to be AfroLink Global Virtual Conference. So from your comfort of your own home, you can be able to tune into the conference. We're going to be giving you lots of experts, lots of B2B talks, and you're going to be lucky as well. I know I've just said this prematurely, but I'm sure you guys are also going to support us in this. So to Lux and to Natalia, it was nice having you on the show, and see you in September. Thank you very much. Okay.